Even having that information, Detective Thorpe still went ahead and tore out the warrant for the wrong people on October the 20th?
That's right.
Yikes.
You drew the witness's attention to the phone number and tried to have the witness testify to whose phone number it was. Baffling to me. Purposefully hide the ball to the extent you possibly can for as long as you possibly can, unless it is just that you are so unorganized that you are throwing this case together as you try it. And I'm sorry to say that, but...
So there's going to be a mistrial, right? Day 138 of the Young Thug YSL RICO trial was absolutely insane. Ms. Love purposely asked a question that asserts evidence for the truth of the matter asserted, when minutes beforehand she said it wasn't for the truth at the bench. Defense then moves for a mistrial and the judge blows up on Ms. Love. This is by far the most angry we've seen Judge Whitaker in the courtroom. She basically says Ms. Love sucks. At her job. Hit subscribe, don't send a membership. Let's go, boys.
She is on her way. There was, I think, some problems with traffic.
Okay, so, I mean, Ms. Hilton, Sunday, September 29th, 1:39 p.m. Good afternoon. I hope all is well. Attached, you will find the media list for this week.
Then, Your Honor, I take full responsibility for that. I can address it. If it was sent, then that is on me.
Luckily, the only person highlighted is somebody who's already been testifying, so it's not an issue for this time. But in addition, you have, even more last minute, provided an updated transcript at, what, 8:30 or 10 or something o'clock last night?
I don't have to use that. I can...
Okay, that's good, because nobody's had a chance to be able to look at it or compare it or anything like that.
Literally the first minute of the stream, the judge is already annoyed with Ms. Love. Is there ever not an issue with this prosecutor?
And some of the information in the interview with Mr. Zachary on the 5th of August, 2015, that we believe addressed some of the concerns that the court had regarding.
I'm sorry, but I don't know what you're talking about.
So in my email to the court, I said that there were some matters that we would ask permission to address prior to playing the interview. Portions of the interview that defense requested redacted. The court said that it needed sometimes foundational information before I went ahead and...
Okay, and I think that Mr. responded to everybody that we're not going to address that this morning before, and we know that the jury is going to be here and ready to go at 9, and I don't think there's going to be time to address all of that in the 5 minutes before the jury is here. Do you?
Well, there's one that I think we can. It's the first one that we have listed.
Okay, well, anyway, that is what I said we would address either at lunch or at the end of the day, correct? All right, and so for that reason as well, we're not really ready for Detective Gaither's testimony. So go ahead and call Mr. Sprinkle over, and let's pick up with him.
And also, Your Honor, so will the court be permitting me or allow me to bring Mr. Sprinkle back after we get into testimony?
I mean, it seems to me like that's been kind of the way this case has gone, is that people get called back 2 and 3 times. So sure, you can do that with him too.
Dude, the judge is annoyed. This is crazy. First look at Thug on day 138. Shannon Stillwell. Lil Rod is asleep like always. Yeah, God, he looks a little tired.
On the 27th of September, so what, 3 days ago, we got a Dropbox link with additional crime scene photos from a 2019 case, a 2014 case, and a 2015 case.
Why are we getting crime scene photos 9 months into a trial? Someone explain that to me.
Of what?
Well, I think you'd have to ask maybe Mr. Atkins or the state. My main point being these should have been provided in December of 22 at the latest, so I don't know why we're just receiving these now. It seems to be my role in the case. I'm here to, once again, complain about late discovery, Your Honor.
Ms. Love?
Your Honor, I'd ask...
Dude, the judge is not in a good mood. She hates Miss Love.
I have those files in front of me that Mr. Weinstein...
How about you get those files at lunch? Seems to me like we're going to have a lot to talk about over lunch.
We can do that, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Love, in your Sunday 6 p.m. email, you said that you were going to forward later in the evening to counsel and the court portions of Mr. Zachary's interview that you were seeking reconsideration of because of, I guess, the way he testified. I'm not in receipt of that forward. Did you ever forward what the actual portions are?
Your Honor, I think, no, I forwarded the transcript, the corrected transcript that I was seeking.
But you didn't forward the portions that you had that either I had ruled out or you had agreed would be out?
I did not forward those. There were...
And yet that's what you expected everybody to argue this morning without even knowing what those were. Could you please forward those at your earliest convenience so that we will know by lunchtime what it is that we're talking about?
This is disastrous. This day could not get any worse for Miss Love.
Excuse me, and I didn't receive the transcript last night.
Well, she's agreed that she's not going to be using the transcript because nobody's had a chance to look at it. So you don't need to worry about that.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, so is Mr. Sprinkle out there ready?
He said that he needed 10 minutes from the time that I reached him. So
text him now and tell him he needs to get over here right now.
He is, Your Honor. He is coming. He literally...
Text him anyway and say the 10 minutes, he can't have any more time. He needs to stop what he's doing right now and come on because we have the jury waiting.
Dude, what is that? This isn't real. Every day I'm just like, this is not real.
Jury right here too. Oh, look, there's Mr. Sprinkle. No, you may not. Let's get the jury in. Mr. Sprinkle and Stephen. Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
She asked to go outside and talk to him, I think, and she said, no, you may not.
Spencer Wright, person that Detective Thorpe spoke to before taking out the warrants, and the jail call that you listened to.
Correct.
Spencer Wright's the guy that gave a fake name in jail, trying to get out of jail, trying to get, give up information for less jail time.
I already believed, which was that Spencer Wright, who initially provided the name of Nicholas Robb.
I'm going to object to that testimony. As to relevance, his belief is not relevant.
Sustained.
Why do none of these detectives and investigators on this trial know how to testify and not?
Murder of Donovan Thomas, because at that point I was certainly without sufficient evidence.
Okay.
I can no longer rely on that statement.
All right. At the time that you got the file, had Kenneth Copeland already been interviewed?
He had been.
All right.
Listening to the interview and taking notes, I endeavored to corroborate as much of his statement as I could.
Did that involve listening to other interviews and jail calls as well?
Yes.
Would you tell the jury what other interviews you listened to without talking about what was said in the interviews themselves?
Sure. Well, there was the interview with Demeke and Garlington, Quindarius Zachary, primarily, if not exclusively, focused on the surveillance footage from the Texaco and the barbershop.
Okay.
Well, so I watched the surveillance footage many times. Well, I was focused on the social media of the parties that were, these were phone records I think were primarily, if not exclusively, obtained by investigator Tyrone Dennis. His number I found in the phone records of Quindarius Zachary, Demise McMullen, Kenneth Copeland, and Calvin Treadwell, meaning I called detail records for those 4 people. And as I looked through them, I found that in close temporal proximity to the homicide, or maybe not, when I say close temporal proximity, it could be like within a day or two of the homicide, not necessarily within like 10 minutes. 2 calls, I believe, that were placed from Martinez Arnold, night of the homicide, and I think the first one was at 8:18 p.m., which was an hour after the murder. Javaris Bradford, standing behind a Pontiac Bonneville, a gray in color Pontiac Bonneville.
Why were you interested in a gray Pontiac Bonneville at the time that you saw these images on Mr. Bradford's page?
Well, at the time I saw these images, I wasn't.
Okay.
I mean, not really. And I knew that there was some kind of type of gray car or cars that were involved. So a gray car in general would have got my interest. And when I say surveillance footage, I'm referring to the surveillance footage from the cameras that were mounted on 330 McDaniel Street, that being the barbershop in the parking lot which Donovan Thomas stood at the time that he was shot and killed. From the Texaco station, yet again, I became considerably more interested in these images, gray Pontiac Bonneville on that footage, in close temporal proximity to the homicide. And because that Texaco station was in close spatial proximity to the barbershop, that particularly caught my interest. Appeared on Mr. Bradford's Instagram page, pulled up to a gas pump at that gas station.
All right. Anytime while you were looking at it, were you able to see individuals get out of or get into the Pontiac?
Your Honor, I would object as to relevance. Also, as the best evidence, the video has been introduced.
Sustained.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this is just a lot of bullshit about the Pontiac, bro. Pontiac's the car that allegedly Thug switched into. People were switching in and out of this Pontiac the night of Donovan Thomas was murdered, but there's no footage of it, really. Especially not Thug. Thug's never seen anywhere, but the state says he's in the car, and it's literally only because of snitching.
Recognize any persons getting into or out of that Pontiac?
Objection as to relevance. The jury can make their own determination from the evidence that's already been admitted.
Sustained.
Would you tell the jury about one person that you saw getting into and out of that Pontiac?
I'm
that you
going to
looked
object.
further
Same
into?
question.
Sustained.
Did you see Diamante Kendrick getting out of the Pontiac?
I did.
Objection.
Your Honor,
Sustained.
Move to strike, Your Honor.
It'll be stricken.
Getting out of the Pontiac?
I'm going to object. It's the same question.
Sustained.
Would the court allow me to either approach and explain or allow the state to get information we believe will be made valuable to the jury at a later time? In other words, would the court please conditionally allow us? Tell the jury who it was you believed that you saw getting into and out of the vehicle based on the information you had.
Well, there were multiple occupants of the vehicle, but I believe you're referring to Diamante Kendrick.
Okay. What did you do once you saw Diamante Kendrick? Did you just see him or look at or observe him getting out of the vehicle, or did you do something else with that information?
Well, I wanted to speak with the other people that were with him in that Pontiac Bonneville and another vehicle that appeared in the frame at some point.
Okay. Were you able to get closer up pictures of anyone inside that gas station?
Yes.
Didn't we already go over this, that we saw Gotti in the gas station that got out of the Pontiac?
I thought there was an excellent chance that Javaris Bradford was also in the Bonneville.
Objection to his opinion.
Why is he bringing all this up?
But there were a couple of vehicles. They were parked at that gas pump for a good long while, for over 30 minutes.
In the vehicle that pulled off simultaneously with the Bonneville informed the next steps in your investigation?
Well, one of the occupants of the Bonneville ran up to the other vehicle and had a conversation for about 30 seconds with the driver.
They're connecting it to the Infinity.
But then ran back to the Bonneville, boarded the driver's seat of the Bonneville, and the 2 cars left simultaneously. And this was within 5 minutes of the drive-by shooting next door at 330 McDaniel Street.
Okay. Did you do anything to determine what vehicle it was that drove off simultaneously with the Bonneville you believe to be occupied by Diamante Kendrick?
Yes, I just looked at the video. It was clear enough. I could tell what kind of vehicle it was.
60% of you aren't subscribed. Come on, hit the subscribe bell.
Did you do anything to obtain any records, registration, or anything else as it related to the vehicle that pulled off simultaneously with the Bonneville that you believe Mr. Diamante Kendrick occupied?
Yes, I sent a subpoena to various rental car companies to include Hertz.
All right.
As I reviewed the file, there was information contained therein that one of the parties of interest rented the vehicle.
Were you able immediately to obtain any records of interest as related to the vehicle that pulled off simultaneously with the Bonneville?
I did. They related to Jeffrey Williams.
Okay. On scene at that gas station, did you ever see anyone that you believed to be Kenneth Copeland?
No, I did not see anybody that I believe to be Kenneth Copeland.
She's shitting on the defense, saying it was Woody that killed Knott. He wasn't in this car or whatever.
Can you tell the jury the location of other incidents that you looked into?
Well, there were several.
Your Honor, I'm going to object. Course of conduct, irrelevant.
Your Honor, I believe.
You know what, let's take our morning break right now.
Defense lawyers are on her ass.
The information that he got from those other case files and how he used it in this particular case, we believe is very relevant.
What do you expect his answer to be? What other case files? The alleged retaliatory back and forth that the state's theory has led to this? Or what? I mean, I don't know.
So, no, and the state's theory is not that retaliatory back and forth.
Just answer what it is that you think that is going to be the other incidents.
Your Honor, the Dexter Montgomery incident.
The predecessor court heard at length the information about Dexter Montgomery. Several witnesses were called, detectives, investigators, witnesses from a prison system. And so the jury has heard that evidence before. They have heard the evidence about the Adele Drive shooting, both from officers who have come before the court and testified about it, as well as individuals who were there at the location. They have heard from Mr. Copeland for a long time, and both videos of him, detectives testifying about him previously, officers testifying about him previously. All of this information has been put in front of this jury previously. There's no relevance to Mr. Sprinkle at this point saying, again, regurgitating all of those and saying why they were important to him or important to the investigation. What importance they have, ultimately, they can argue in closing, but the jury's this is already before the jury. And so if I did not say that this evidence would be cumulative.
Yeah, I was just about to say this is cumulative then.
Object to hearsay, and this is my concern. Ms. Love just said, I just want to ask about information he obtained about these other cases. And from my understanding of Mr. Sprinkle's report, he didn't firsthand work or make observations of anything. He just read police reports, or perhaps, like in the case of Quindary Zachary, he was in the proffer session, but all that is hearsay.
He utilized information.
Okay, so I mean, you need to be careful about how you ask the question.
Shannon Jackson, who also is known as Shannon Stillwell.
All right. The date and time of this posting?
January 10th, 2015 at 9:58 p.m. Overlooking the city with a lot on my mind, followed by a series of, and when I say series, I mean 4 emojis that depict faces.
Now, at the time that you saw this, did you know where it was that this picture was taken?
It's like the inside of the Sky House condominium.
Based upon hearsay, Your Honor, I would object.
Sustained.
Your Honor, I'm going to object and ask for some additional clarification. Knowing where a location is versus where a window is are two different things. I'd ask for further clarification.
Again, I don't know what he's going to say. He says he's been there. Can you develop that further before he testifies as to the question, like develop that he has the foundation to testify to that?
Yes. Is there anything about the record that will show you the date that a posting was made?
Yes. So if you go to Instagram and you mouse over the, for example, on defense 44, it says 109W with W standing for weeks. If you're actually at a computer and you stick your mouse cursor, position it over 109, date will pop up. There will actually be the date when it was posted. Here I see a box immediately below 109W, except the box has nothing in it.
Okay.
So that looks to me like that would, if you were to screenshot it, take a picture of your screen digitally while you're mousing over that, and I know this because I've done it many, many times, then you should see the date of the post. I know that because that's how I capture posts on Instagram. Here, I don't see that. I don't know if there wasn't enough toner in the printer or what's going on. But
I'm going to object. That's a speculation then.
About the toner in the printer?
There's no foundation for him he's certainly not an expert on mousing over a date. I would object that there's no foundation and that it calls for speculation.
Do you want to sustained at this point?
Is that a picture?
Well, Your Honor, I have an objection as well. Seeing as now a foundation's been laid, I'd ask the court to instruct the jury as to why that box is blank.
Overruled. You'll come up here for a minute.
What is going on? This is all over the date on that Instagram post, and it's different. And the defense's in the defense's exhibit, it doesn't show the date.
Names differ because you can change your Instagram name whenever you like, and depending on when you capture it, it'll just capture the name that the person goes by at that moment. But yeah, they're the same.
And what is the social media handle for Defense Stillwell Exhibit 44?
SB_ with the shit. All one word with dots, dashes, or any other manner of punctuation in between the words with the shit.
How many social media sites have you reviewed and been able to hover over a photograph to determine the date that the photograph was posted?
This is such an awkward picture. Like, why is he looking like that out the window, bro?
Thousands.
He's not wrong. You can hover over the amount of weeks and see the exact date, but I don't know what the point of this is.
Or did you review the social media accounts for any of the other persons in this courtroom today?
Okay, I believe Jeffrey Williams.
Okay. What information did you use from the social media accounts you just described to the jury that aided in your investigation?
Well, there was a lot of. I mean, there's photos and videos that depict certain things, and these things, for example, would be who would
able to see any associations that.
Yes.
Objection as to hearsay.
Overruled.
Yeah, I mean, if I see a photo, and I'm not naming anybody specifically, but if I take a look at a photo on a social media page, and I see that it depicts, say, 4 people, and they're all together and they appear cordial, then from that I can say, well, they at the very least were cordial in that instance. And if I see multiple photographs that show that, I say, well, it seems like that perhaps they're associates, and then from there I can continue to delve.
Speculation.
Overruled.
The logs of incoming and outgoing calls and text messages, yes.
What number did you review incoming and outgoing calls and text messages from as it relates to that investigation.
That would be hearsay.
Sustained.
Dude, defense lawyers are on Miss Love today, dude. She can't get nothing going.
Were you able, if you can recall, who were you able to review calls between Dolly, that Dolly had
Objection, that's going
conversations
to be
with?
hearsay.
Sustained.
Were there any particular PIN numbers associated with persons who communicated with Dolly?
Yeah, it was Martinez Arnold.
Also be hearsay.
Did you capture those calls?
Yes. If you mean by capture, if you mean did I save them and preserve them, yes.
A lot of confusing testimony about phone calls that weren't very clear. If I was a juror, I'd be like, dude, what are they? There's like so many names in this case. Keith Adams up for cross.
That sometimes when a file comes to you from an investigating agency, that it is not always, in your words, complete.
Yes.
Because it is important to make sure that people who need to be prosecuted are prosecuted, right?
Yes.
It is important to make sure that people who should not be prosecuted are not prosecuted.
That's correct.
You do not want, and your duty, I believe, encompasses this, you do not want to have someone charged or arrested or their freedom taken for an offense that they did not commit. True?
Your Honor, as an answer in.
Overruled.
And so you knew by the time that you came into this that there were 4 people who were sitting in the Fulton County Jail who had been charged by the detectives whose name we just referenced with the murder of Donovan Thomas.
That's correct.
Kenneth Copeland, Shannon Stillwell, who else?
Antonio Sledge and Demiki and Garlington.
All right. Those people, as far as you knew when you picked up this file, had already been investigated by the detectives, true?
That's true.
And by the way, you had worked previously. I mean, you knew who detectives Gaither, Dennis, and Thorpe were. You know who they were.
Yeah, I knew who they were, yes.
You worked with them previously.
I had.
Right. And so you came into this with people arrested, believing that the work had been done properly to have these 4 folks in the Fulton County Jail, right?
Well, that was my hope.
Right. That turned out not to be the case, right?
Correct.
In fact, tell me if this is right. I think you testified to this. That there was the interview, this gentleman named Spencer Wright, in, what was it, October the 19th of 2015?
That sounds right, yes.
All right. That interview was done by Detective Thorpe, correct? And the next day, the 20th, is when Detective Thorpe went in front of a judge and got an arrest warrant for the 4 people whose names we've just mentioned.
Yes.
And those 4 people were arrested and put in jail as a result of the investigative work that had been done by those detectives whose names we've just referenced.
Well, when we say those detectives, I would not, Detectives Gaither and Dennis, I wouldn't group them into that. It was Detective Thorpe that was the affiant on the arrest warrants for...
To the time that Thorpe went and took out that arrest warrant in October 2015, that he had communication and collaboration with Detectives Dennis and Detective Gaither. You know that, right?
Well, he sat in on interviews with them. Some of these interviews that we've discussed or I discussed on direct. Yeah, and they work for the same agency, so yes, I would say yes.
You certainly had information that these 3 detectives, Thorpe may have been the one who took out the warrant, right?
Yes.
But these 3 detectives were in contact, in communication with each other in regards to Donovan Thomas's murder. You knew that.
Yes.
So what he's doing right now is just making the detectives look dumb because months and months of investigating, they charged the wrong people.
Ultimately, what happened is that they arrested the wrong people, didn't they?
As to vagueness and the word they.
Sustained.
After consulting or talking to Gaither and Dennis, took out for these 4 individuals, charged the wrong people with the murder of Donovan Thomas, correct?
To that question, Your Honor.
Sustained.
You said that this was almost entirely based on the statement of Mrs. Spencer Wright.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's insane. Arrest 4 people for murder almost entirely based off one person's statement who gave a fake name in jail. And they know he gave a fake name.
Detective Thorpe, or whoever else was involved, did a ridiculously poor job of vetting or looking into Spencer Wright's statement. Isn't that true?
Well, there was surveillance video that Mr. Wright said he was a specific place, and there was video that would have showed whether or not he was there. That apparently was not inspected very closely prior to obtaining arrest warrants.
All right, well, in terms of not investigated fully,
That's crazy. This is a perfect hole. Any defense lawyer finds a hole like this, they're gonna f it.
was to really examine the statement from Mr. Wright. Is that true?
Yes.
And you did so?
I did.
And you spoke to him?
I did.
One of the second or third things that you did, right, just using some common sense, was to go and look for video around the location where you thought Spencer Wright would have been, right?
That's right.
And you did that?
I did.
And you were able to find it?
I was.
And it was pretty easy?
It was.
Detective Thorpe, before arresting folks based on your words, almost entirely the statement of Spencer Wright, never took the time to even go look for video where Spencer Wright supposedly would have been, did he?
Well, that I don't know. You would have to ask Detective Thorpe that.
Well, did you? Did you ask Detective Thorpe that?
Oh, I'm sure I did.
The answer was that he had not done it, right?
I remember the answer he gave at the preliminary hearing about the video.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Where the bus stop, where Spencer Wright
Yes.
would have been?
Yes.
Was there?
Yes, there was a video camera, and in the viewable area of that camera was the bus stop where Mr. Wright said that he was standing at the time of the homicide.
Right. Had anyone gotten that video?
Yes.
Even having that information, Detective Thorpe still went ahead and swore out the warrant for the wrong people on October 20th?
That's right.
Yikes. Definitely not a good look for the jury to hear that about the detectives.
Detectives messed it up, got the wrong people in jail. We got to get them out of jail right now.
Yeah, well, I disclosed all of this to the defense attorneys at the time. I can't remember if they, well, Antonio Sledge got out of jail pretty quick because that case was just thrown out at the preliminary hearing.
This Pontiac Bonneville, right?
That's correct.
You talked about other vehicles that you saw, correct?
Correct.
You talked about individuals that you saw there at that gas station, right?
That's correct.
You were asked by the prosecutor whether you saw Kenneth Copeland on any of those videos. Remember that question?
I do remember it.
Your answer was no.
That's right.
Because you did not see Kenneth Copeland at that gas station, that Texaco, sometime around the time that the murder occurred, right?
That's correct.
All right. You weren't asked, so I'm asking you whether you saw Jeffrey Williams on that video at the Texaco at around the time that the murder occurred. Did you?
No, I didn't see Jeffrey Williams on there, no.
And you looked at the entirety of the video, right?
I did.
I think I heard you say that on all, I don't know if you said all of them, a lot of videos you went back and you looked at them multiple times, right?
Mm-hmm.
Remember I said that earlier? There's no footage of Thug.
Jeffrey Williams is not on any video getting out of any car, getting into any car at the Texaco down the street from the barbershop, true?
That's true.
The only way they get Thug in one of these cars, I think, is snitching. Like, that's literally it. And to a lot of people, that would be enough. But to me, I'm like, dude, that's...
Quite earlier that one of the things you were able to determine is that the vehicle was rented in the name of Jeffrey Williams. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Right. You were not able to determine who it was that actually rented the vehicle, just that it was in the name of Jeffrey Williams. Isn't that right?
It was in the name of Jeffrey Williams, his driver's license number, and his signature. There's a signature as well.
Tell me the date that that vehicle was rented.
From what I remember, January 7th, 2015.
All right, so that would have been 3 days before January 10th of 2015, correct?
That's right.
All right. Now, tell me, if you can, who had possession of that vehicle on January the 8th of 2010?
2015?
What did I say, 2010? 2015, yes.
Yes, I don't know.
You don't know who had possession of that vehicle on January the 9th of 2015, do you?
I do not know.
And you certainly don't know who had possession of the vehicle, no personal knowledge of who had possession of that vehicle on January the 10th, 2015.
If we're talking about actual possession, the person
possession.
then no, I do not know.
Okay.
Casting doubt on everything.
One of the things you could have done in regards to Kenneth Copeland and any statements he said, phone calls he said he may have had with someone named Demikian Garlington, is you could have gotten Garlington's phone records to determine whether or not those communications took place, right?
That is correct.
And also where Mr. Garlington was to see whether that comports with what Kenneth Copeland said, right?
That is correct.
Now, you got Kenneth Copeland's information, his phone information, right?
I did.
You got his location, so you knew, or at least the phone, where that phone was at certain times on the night of January 10th, 2015, right?
Well, to be specific, what you see with tower data is the tower and the side of the tower that the phone utilized. That can be a pretty large area. In a city with a lot of cell phone towers everywhere, you get a little bit of a better idea, but I just want to make sure that we're clear that it's not the exact location of the phone.
Sure. Not the exact, I mean, can't pinpoint within feet or maybe not even within a block.
All I know is I didn't think I had probable cause. I never got probable cause to get the tower records.
That you thought was a number to Demikian Garlington.
Yes.
You requested those records specifically without tower usage logs, right?
I did.
For you to go ahead and try to verify whether Kenneth Copeland was lying through his teeth or not by getting Garlington's tower usage logs.
I will say one other thing.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Yes.
I'll just ask the question just very simply. Bottom line is, I am correct when I say that that you requested the information on Mr. Garlington's phone, but you requested those without the tower usage logs. Is that true?
That's right.
Okay.
Max Shart objected earlier to something Adams was saying, and he just wanted to approach, so he doesn't really like the way this is looking for Shannon, apparently, some of this.
But you have not stood in the vantage point of the person in that picture to be able to say, this is someone looking out the window of the Sky House.
That's right.
And I'm talking now about the night of the murder, January 10, 2015. There are 0 calls. I mean, 0 as in nothing, none, zilch. 0 calls between Kenneth Copeland and Jeffrey Williams. Isn't that true?
That sounds correct to me. There's obviously, the phone records can be voluminous, so I'm going off of my memory from. I feel like I would have remembered something like that. I'm also refreshing my recollection by looking at my report from the excerpts I placed in the report.
Did you have the ability to seek any wiretaps in this case?
No. We certainly have the ability to seek it, but we never did.
Okay.
Dude, why wouldn't they? Why didn't they get wiretaps on Thug? Because they don't have much on Thug.
I'm speaking specifically now about Jeffrey Williams.
Yeah, exactly.
No wiretap of any phone. You never sought any wiretap of Jeffrey Williams' phone, did you?
No, we never did. Was aware that Mr. Williams had a Twitter page. I don't recall how closely I examined his Twitter page, though.
Okay. So you would not be in a position to tell this jury that there's anything about his Twitter page that you reviewed in regards to January 10th of 2015?
Well, if I did, it's not something that made an imprint on me such that I remember it. So I would say no, there was nothing.
Trying to point out as many things he doesn't know about Thug. Nothing on Twitter.
Looking back again at judging the veracity of the statements people give to you, specifically now Copeland, you were able to determine that at the time when Copeland says that he is in a car with Garlington, that Garlington's phone, or the phone you think is Garlington's phone, is actually calling Copeland's phone at that time. Do you remember that?
No, I'm not sure. You must be referencing Mr. Copeland's cell phone call data records, and there's a phone call at a specific time that somehow occurs at a time when I don't know. Is that what you're talking about?
Let me see if I can break down anymore.
This Sprinkle guy is funny. Like, he's like such a nerd. I know I'm kind of nerdy, but this guy's just next level, just yapping.
At the time when Copeland says he is in a car with McMullen and Garlington, you actually see phone calls between Garlington's number and Copeland's number when they're supposedly in a car with each other, right?
Well, So first of all, there were some routed calls that were between, but a routed call is not necessarily a communication between the two numbers. It could be a call, an attempted call that wasn't completed. So, but as you'd have to ask Mr. Copeland, about those phone calls and where he was, and if Mr. Garlington was actually in the car with them, or he was inside, the convenience store or the McDonald's or wherever it was they said they were. I don't know. I just don't know.
The definition of word salad coming from this fucker at all times. So he's trying to point out that why were they calling each other if they were supposedly in the car together? He's trying to point out that Woody was lying.
You could be a block off, a mile off. It all depends.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
Okay. All right, I think that's all I have.
Point out that the cell phone towers are a block off or a mile off. Don't really know exactly. Shard Cross.
You've been to the exterior of the Sky House, correct?
Yeah, I've been outside the Sky House.
As part of this investigation or another
It
investigation?
was this investigation.
Okay. You've never been inside the Sky House or inside the units?
No, I've never been inside one of the units.
Okay.
I believe that it is, though I've not been inside the Sky House. That was my recollection from everything I put together, that was him standing inside the condo at the Sky House that evening. But if you were to ask me, like if I stood where he is standing in this picture, no. So I can't say with 100% certainty, no.
Okay, what is the date and time?
January 10th, 2015 at 9:58 p.m.
That is the date where someone posted this photo with this caption on social media, correct?
That's correct.
That is not necessarily the time when this photo was taken.
That's correct.
In fact, do you know who took this photo?
Well, there was somebody who told me they took the photo. I showed them this photo, and they told me they took it.
Okay.
It's written in my report, so if I'm wrong, please let me know, but I'm pretty sure I recall who told me that.
Were you able to determine when this photo was taken?
I can tell you, all I know is what the person told me.
Okay. Telling the jury that this photo was taken on January 10th, 2015, are you?
I don't know when the photo was taken.
Okay. Well,
So he's trying to really clarify in front of the jury that this wasn't the day Donovan Thomas was killed, because clearly the state says they all went back to that condo, and he doesn't want the jury to get that idea that this is a picture of after the killing, because the killing was at like 8 p.m. or something.
Standard time, it would be dark out.
okay, so bottom line is, this is Shannon, but we don't have any information to say when this photo was taken.
That's correct.
Doug Weinstein up.
Because of the antenna that it's hitting, correct?
That's correct.
But you don't know the actual location of that cell phone, or even if it's within that 120-degree arc, do you?
No, you don't know. Well, there's a good chance it's within that 120-degree arc, but the exact location within that arc, no.
The gas station video from the Texaco, the one that's exterior to the gas station, how many times would you say you viewed that video?
Wow.
Roughly.
75 to 100 times.
And you saw someone that you believe to be my client, DeMonte Kendrick, right?
Yes.
And you saw him in the Pontiac Bonneville, correct?
Yes.
And you saw the Pontiac Bonneville pull out of the gas station.
I did.
And Mr. Kendrick was in the Bonneville when it pulled out from the gas station, correct?
He was in the driver's seat.
Of the Bonneville?
Yes.
He was not in the Infinity, correct?
He was not.
Thank you.
Point now, his client was not in the vehicle that they say did the murder, minutes before the murder, and they never saw him get in it. Insufferable redirect with Miss Love. Here we go, boys.
And what led you to believe that this number was a correct number for Justin Cobb?
There's probably more to it than just this, but it was posted in this Instagram comment. And
Posted by the owner or user of the account?
That was false speculation, not object.
If he has a basis to testify.
Are you able to see and tell, looking at the posting itself, what name the number is next to?
I
What
would
handle
renew
the
my
number
objection,
is
also
next to?
object on the basis of hearsay if he's reading from a document.
It's already in evidence, Your Honor. And,
Okay,
and Your Honor, what?
when we were up here at the bench,
So, Your Honor, I'll ask additional questions that I think will.
sustained.
Okay. So, after seeing this
Your Honor,
number,
I have a motion, please. May we step up?
Yeah, I'm going to excuse y'all to the jury room.
What's happening now? He has a motion.
My motion is a motion for mistrial, based on the actions of the prosecutor. My objection initially to the item was that it contained hearsay. The state represented at the bench said it was not hearsay. There was no hearsay contained in it. We did not address the issue of what the state already knew, which is that there was a phone number attached to it that she was going to try to elicit testimony from this witness about who that phone number belonged to. That in and of itself is speculation, but it's certainly hearsay. The document can't authenticate itself. I believe the site for that proposition is Twiggs versus State. It's 315 Georgia Appeals 191. So this witness can't look at a document and say that it says this phone number is from Justin Cobb's Instagram or social media posting. This is who it belongs to. So that was my objection. I believe the objection was well founded. I believe the state purposely put that up there after misrepresenting as to whether or not it contained any hearsay in it. And based on that, I would have moved for mistrial.
Oh man, and the judge has not been in a good mood today, so this could go south quick.
first, the state objects to a mistrial. Second, Your Honor, what Mr. Adams indicated that he did not want on here were the comments with respect. Where's the phone number? There it is.
Yeah,
Okay,
the comments generally being all of the writing on the right side of the picture.
Your Honor.
And so I said to you, is any of it hearsay? Is any of it being offered for the truth? And you said no.
Your Honor, what I was asking the witness to do is to tell what was of significance to that number and what he did in terms of finding out and corroborating information that he obtained, because he obtained phone records. I don't intend that this evidence or this exhibit will show that this is Justin Cobb's phone number.
You're asking him that? And
No,
asking
Your
him
Honor.
to testify to that?
I'm asking him, and I understand the court, I'm asking him what handle it's next to, and Your Honor, what he did after seeing what he saw on this
That's
social
not
media
what you
page.
asked, though.
She's asserting that it's Justin Cobb's phone number.
That being the writing on the right side of the picture, which we're all squinting at because it's tiny on the piece of paper. And so I am relying upon you to actually be honest with the court and opposing counsel so that we can deal appropriately with the evidentiary issue. Was any of it being offered for the truth? And you said no. And then you turned around, and after it was admitted over the overruling of the hearsay objection, based on the representation that nothing was being offered for its truth, you drew the witness's attention to the phone number and tried to have the witness testify to whose phone number it was. If that is not offered for the truth, what is it?
Your Honor, it explains what steps he next took. It wasn't that he
I've pointed this out several times. She said she's not offering it for the truth of the matter asserted, and then she does.
took this phone number and said, okay, this is Justin Cobb's phone number. He went and sought records based on what he saw on this social media post. So it's not, this post can't prove anything, but I do expect that the witness will testify based on what he saw, regardless, because it's a legitimate.
Why can't you just, at the bench, when you know that the reason you're offering it is for the phone number, and then to ask the witness other questions about what he did based on that phone number and seeing that phone number, say to everybody so that we know what we're dealing with,
She's not being transparent at the bench because she's trying to blindside everyone.
it's this phone number, and then I'm going to ask him XYZ about the phone number, and then we'll know what we're dealing with.
Because my understanding that what was being objected to was not the phone number, was the comments, that was the words, Your Honor. And again, this piece of evidence does not prove anything, as anybody would be able to say. But when he saw this on Justin Cobb's page, or a picture of Justin Cobb next to what he believed to be Justin Cobb's handle, he saw additional information. The entire
phone number was the comments.
I'm sorry, what, Your Honor?
I mean, that is included within what you're now calling comments, all of them just being.
And I asked at the bench what comments they were asserting was hearsay, Your Honor. I literally
And
asked
I
it.
asked at the bench, is any of this being offered for its truth?
And Your Honor, it's being offered to explain DDA Sprinkle's actions that he took next. Your Honor, these records have been collected as part of what he did in this investigation. He was
The judge is so fed up.
asked on cross-examination, did he take particular steps to corroborate what was given to him in certain interviews? That was the preceding question before I asked him about this particular post.
Is this lady just incompetent, or is this on purpose? I can't tell anymore. Does she want a mistrial?
The state intended and intends to introduce the records that DDA Sprinkle produced or obtained after seeing this post. This post can't suffice to prove that that is Justin Cobb's number. This post only explains why DDA Sprinkle got the number and why it was significant.
But you know, Judge, we don't get there. I hear what the state's saying, and it's disingenuous, because we don't get to the second step that they're talking about, what records he procured and why he did what he did, unless we go through the hearsay statement that's contained in the portion that I objected to. And the court is accurate. I was there, and I asked for everything that was on the right side, all of the verbiage to be. I said that was hearsay. The state said it was not. It clearly is, because to ask him that specific question, I mean, listen, none of us are obtuse.
I
Here.
asked-
It is what it is. I think that the state was disingenuous about it. The state's being very slippery in regards to their response to the court's questions. I think it's willful, and I think a mistrial is appropriate. I'm
I
asking.
mean, I can't figure out what it is. If it's disingenuous, if it is that, I mean, I don't want to malign the prosecutor standing in front of me right now, so I'm not going to say the possible things that it could be, but it is baffling to me that somebody with the number of years of experience that you have, time after time after time, continues to seemingly purposefully hide the ball to the extent you possibly can for as long as you possibly can. And I really don't want to believe that it is purposeful, but honestly, after a certain number of times, you start to wonder how it could be anything but that, unless it is just that you are so unorganized that you are throwing this case together as you try it. And I'm sorry to say that, but this case is being made much more difficult for everybody because of the haphazard way in which it is being presented. I'm going to take a recess for a few minutes. I'll have a ruling when I get back.
So there's gonna be a mistrial, right? That is by far the most angry we've seen her, dude.
All right, I'm going to deny the motion for mistrial. It's not as if the state couldn't have gotten the testimony in an appropriate way anyway. It's not like the testimony itself is that big of a deal. I'm going to exclude that statement and just tell the jury to disregard the statement and any testimony that had anything to do with the statement.
How many times is this gonna happen in this trial? We've asked the jury to delete stuff from their mind probably 100 times now. This isn't real. I refuse to believe it's not real.
Want to put anything on the record, or are you just getting ready for the jury?
I'd like to put just a matter
Go
before
ahead.
the record for the court. Your Honor, this is from United States versus Roberts, R-O-B-E-R.
Brian still citing cases.
It specifically says that continued prosecutorial misconduct may show a course of conduct establishing the intent to provoke a mistrial and bring into play double jeopardy considerations. You have not been here the whole time, and we thank you for being here. But starting with opening statement, and I know you got my motion.
I know, and I know what your argument is. Here's the thing: is that, and I understand what that law says as well. Ms. Love does not appear to be trying to get a mistrial so that she can try this case over again.
Isn't that insane? No one can really tell. The state is doing so bad, people think that she's doing this on purpose to get a mistrial.
Not applicable here. Now, is there continued prosecutorial misconduct merits a mistrial anyway, based on that? Yes, potentially we get to that point at some point. But there is not, from what the court's vantage point is, an indication that the state is trying to goad anybody into moving for a mistrial so that they can retry the case because they think they're losing the case. I think they think they're winning the case.
This is not becoming in the state of Georgia of a trial. And it is all the time, Your Honor. It is all the time. At some point, it's got to end. Because this is not fair to Mr. Williams, and I assume the other people on trial will agree. It is just constant hiding laws, citing law that does not stand for what it stands for, not giving over information, not answering the court, arguing with the court. And I think that it does rise to a level now, but I understand what you rule. But I think that we're well beyond it. And the reason I said promotion is because it's literally.
Oh, I saw that. I know. Struggling with whether all of this is purposeful or this is just really poor lawyering on the part of members of the state's team.
Frying them, dude.
I don't know if I can stress any more than I already have how much the state's lawyers need to make an effort to be upfront and forthright in the trial of this case. So let's get the witness back in.
Your Honor, would you allow me to either renew my motion for mistrial or consider that my motion is renewed before the asking of the next question, please?
Yes, it's renewed.
Thank you.
I think that was actually the closest we've gotten to a mistrial, but of course, the judge lets it slide. And now we go on like nothing happened.
Why did you say, do you mean, or if you mean actual possession? Do you recall responding
Yes.
regarding actual possession? Why did you say that?
Well, the person that was actually like at the helm of the vehicle and had actual control of the vehicle, not the person that had some sort of legal right to the vehicle through a lease agreement or otherwise.
Did you see anyone else's name on the rental records for the vehicle, the Infiniti that was at the gas station up the street from where Donovan Thomas was gunned down?
I don't think so. Just Mr. Williams.
Mr. Adams also asked you about phone calls between Demise McMullen, Kenneth Copeland, and Demekion Garlington. In your review of Kenneth Copeland's interviews, do you recall him ever giving a specific time that he was in the car, as in 1 a.m., 4 a.m., a specific time that he was in the car with Demise McMullen and Demekion Garlington?
Well, it was afterward. But no, I don't recall the specific time, or if he cited a specific time. Yeah.
To tell the jury whether the phone records or the call detail records that you obtained would reflect FaceTime calls.
No.
That there was no communication between Defendant Williams and Demekion Garlington.
No, I can't say that. The records, like I said, the call detail records are only those that were logged by the cellular phone company. A FaceTime call would be facilitated through the Apple Corporation's platform.
You were aware from the work that you had done on the case, as well as listening to Mr. Copeland's statements, his interviews, that he had multiple cell phones in January of 2015. You're aware of that, right?
Mr. Copeland did?
Mr. Copeland, yes.
I'm sorry, I have one number for him. I don't recall him saying that he personally had multiple cell phones. I don't remember that now. No, I don't recall that. I know I'm familiar with that interview, but I just don't remember him talking about multiple cell phones or anything like that.
Okay. Investigation on this case, by the time you picked it up or got involved in it late 2015, 2016, seen everything that had been done or not done thus far, also leads you to believe that you couldn't necessarily trust the investigative work of Thorpe, Gaither, and Dennis.
Well, no. Well, I mean, yes, there was Detective Thorpe made a mistake in not taking a look at the video and checking to see if the witness was actually where he said he was. Okay, but would that mean that I wouldn't be able to trust anything in the entire investigation? No, I wouldn't make that sort of blanket condemnation such that I would just disregard everything in the entire file and every finding of fact made by the police. No. I mean, I can see that a mistake was made in one part of the investigation, but there are other parts of the investigation that were not as erroneous.
Sheesh, it was a mistake to put people in jail, didn't it? Trying to get in the jury's head that he could be doing it a second time. All right, that's pretty much it for day 138. The closest we've been to a mistrial. I'm not surprised she didn't grant it, though, because this judge wants the trial to continue. Fulton County and someone in the state of Georgia is like, yeah, we spent too much money for this to be a mistrial. That'd be too embarrassing. So yeah, hit subscribe, join 10 membership. Love you guys. Peace out.